Virgo, this is your July 24 soul story. If you've got a sun rising or your moon in the sign, I'm hoping these messages will support you as you make your way through the next few weeks. We are going to open up this month with the Nine of Water. Cancer season feels like you're swimming out in the middle of the ocean, and you know that can be an overwhelming experience. It can be a really intriguing, expansive experience, and it's almost as if, you know, the ground has given way beneath your feet. But you know, that's not a terrifying situation, it's just one that's forcing you, I think, to swim on or to jump onto this new pathway. And you know, there may be moments through July where you're kind of saying, what now? You know, this deep reflective energy is really helping you to trust in the downloads that you're being given on a very personal level. And that you need to be prepared, Virgo, could be incredibly against the status quo. I feel like swimming against the tide is the phrase that comes through. Now, of course, the Nine of Cups talk about our desires, the attainment of our wishes, our hopes, our dreams. But at the beginning of the month, we've got Neptune stationing retrograde in Pisces, and here things get stripped away. So what we're left with, which might look or feel very different to what we expected at this time of the year, then invites the question, you know, what remains still holds value for me? How do I now feel about this? How are my desires changing? How have my wishes, you know, shifted? And I think that moment of deep reflection is going to be incredibly important, because I do think to a certain extent there's a requirement to not set a new strategy, but kind of revisit and make some fairly significant adjustments to something. And then in that, it sort of enables like a preparation, because I also have this feeling, you know, that deeper knowing, that intuitive sense that Cancer can really activate for you, is preparing you for something. Like you feel something on its way. And it's really important that you are allowing yourself to be guided by the consistent and persistent messages that keep coming up or signposted for you. And again, that's coming in a way that speaks your language. So you might have conversations with other people and they don't agree. They might be like, you're crazy, what are you doing? That doesn't make sense. Or, you know, I don't see that. But you have to trust in sort of how this is showing up for you. Now, the new moon arriving in Cancer on the 5th of the month is helping you to assess losses, I feel, but also realize that what it's done is enabled a stronger, wiser you to kind of emerge. And now the intentions that you're setting around that are very much about how you're protecting, nurturing, nourishing what's remained, and this kind of new version of you. Now, the Eight of Earth tells us that there's an application towards something that's necessary. We need to apply, devote, and direct our energy into something in July. It's going to be worthwhile. It's going to deliver the rewards for you. It is going to help meaningfully move you forward. Is it easy? Not necessarily, but you know what? It's worth it, because there's something held within it. You know, it acts as a container for something that you've been holding out for or waiting for. And it's almost like all of the things around it are, you know, creating like situations where you may feel you're at cross purposes with people. You may feel that things are not necessarily making sense, but there will be like one true clear message, one clear path that keeps calling you. And even if, you know, you struggle a little bit to kind of get on board with that, at some point in July, you know, the penny drops and you're just like, okay, I get it, I see it, right, this is what's necessary. What's important to you doesn't have to be important to them. But if you don't prioritize the things that are coming up for you, then there's that feeling of almost like selling out on yourself. I don't see you doing it, because I think the water energy of Cancer season is about nurturing and nourishing something within you. And I think that the mastery and the progress that you make, you know, which could feel like it's behind closed doors. It's not necessarily you're shouting to other people about. It's within your own self-growth journey. But you realize how far you've come. You realize the significance of what this means. You know, you're understanding now how to truly integrate something. And I think that new moon in Cancer is just so poignant for you. There's just so much that you realize and come to terms with, which will really help with the reset and the energy that you're holding for what comes next. You're still in deliberation over something. But what I want to say to you, Virgo, is the more that you can live like you're the person that you want to become, the faster it's going to turn into a reality. So at the moment, what's happening is you may be looking around physical circumstances and really being reactive to that and going, it's impossible to get myself in the mindset or in a place to think that this can happen, that this will be my future, that this is still possible given everything that's happened and transpired. But that's the work specifically in July. As you allow your body to move more into those visions, more into the ideas of who you want to become, and you let yourself start to live and breathe it, again, there's a catalyst, a change. Now we've got Pallas, Athena, asteroid goddess, shifting direct in Scorpio on the 9th. When she went retrograde, we were having difficult conversations about things that you necessarily didn't want to be talking about, or that were difficult to talk about. You know, now a lot of that has been aired. We figure out what's next. And remember, Pallas Athena helps us with the strategy. And where you've got this deliberation, where you've got this weighing up, specifically as well, if this is connected, by the way, to anything financial, yeah, that there are choices and decisions that, you know, again, Neptune stripping back might become quite stark to you through the month of July, but at the same time, you're also really ready to face and ready to deal. And I think that's important. So we want to clear and deal with something early on in July. And the reason for that is as we come into the mid-month, Venus shifts into Leo. We've also got Mars coming into Gemini, and there's this incredibly passionate, charming, flirtatious energy that we get to tap into. Ace of Wands, Ace of Fire, something gets sparked, reignited, or comes in and acts again as this initiation sort of energy to something new. And you're all in, you're excited by this, you're motivated, you're eager, you're inspired by it. And so we want to kind of clear or box this off, you know, so we don't have it kind of hanging over us, because otherwise it's going to absolutely impact your ability to not only recognize the real value of what this ace is bringing forth for you in your life at this time, but your enjoyment of it. It kind of like robs you of your joy. So doing some of the hard things in that first part of the month, even when it might feel a bit overwhelming or you're feeling a bit sensitive or vulnerable, will pay off for you. Now, what we're also looking at is, you know, something that you really want and you have the desire for. Again, something comes in or shows up around that mid-month that says, hey, this is still on the table. Like, this is still here. This hasn't gone away. So, you know, you may have felt that it was like not going to be the right time, or you just simply weren't going to be in a position to be able to go for this. But watch how things shift and change around you. That's why I'm saying, like, when the ground beneath your feet feels like it's moving away, this isn't about loss. This is about creating space for those doors of opportunity to open up. You know, as Ram Dass said, you have to quiet the mind and open the heart. And I think that's going to be a really important remembrance for you through this month of July. Now we've got our second full moon in Capricorn arriving on the 21st. So what was going on in June 21st? Just right around that solstice energy, because this is your sort of second chance. You've got judgment coming up, so something pretty significant happening in and around that time in July. The crossroads moment sometimes arrives really clearly and sometimes seems to be disguised as something else. And then we quickly realize that if we take this road or we make this decision, it sort of automatically put us on a track that, you know, has a momentum and a sort of inevitability about it. And remember, Capricorn is striving to achieve and attain and wanting you to reach a milestone, wanting you to have the endurance and the wherewithal to be able to scale the mountain that you may feel is in front of you. And there's a powerful revelation that comes in that you might have had a heads up around that moment in June, but now it lands. Now it lands. The thing that I want to say though is that the groundedness of that 8, and like I said, the application, the attitude, the approach that you've taken to deal with something early on in the month prepares you, sets you up for this. Yeah. And that means that you can look at this more objectively and say, well, this doesn't have to be the hard thing. You know, this can be the logical next step. And yes, it's going to challenge me, but at the same time, you know, I'm just open and looking for opportunities to be able to demonstrate and embody everything that I've learned, everything I've come to know about myself. I feel you in deep conversation with yourself, but also with other people about the implications of something, where it can go, what the potential is. It may be that there's still some unanswered questions that might feel uncomfortable for you. Nonetheless, you know, as we come in toward the end of July, Sun into Leo on the 22nd, you know, this is your 12th house, and it is a time for sort of allowing closure. You know, we're preparing for your new solar returns to come in, and so things have to feel like they're getting a line drawn under them. And I think it's going to be important for you to give yourself permission for that. You don't want a lot of loose ends as you come out of July, because there's such a charge of energy that's waiting in the wings for the remaining, you know, 5-6 months of this year, that you're gonna want to kind of like ride that wave. And so, you know, July is an interesting one. It sort of on paper feels like it doesn't necessarily make sense. But as you sort of reflect back on it, you'll be like, oh, well, I can see how it got me where I needed to be. Now, you will have Mercury, your ruling sign, coming into Virgo, ruling planet, coming into your sign on the 25th. So that's going to be super helpful for you, just in terms of being able to, I think through things and make sense of things. We've got the 6 of water here. It's almost like we have to pull something from the past or go back and make sense of something that happened before in order to be able to draw a line or clear or heal something and move on. And of course, we're going to have Chiron stationing retrograde on the 26th, though it's not a surprise that you'll also revisit some of your healing journey through the month of July and just kind of take stock on where you've been able to really make progress and move on to either a deepening understanding or to a different area of your life, because you have in fact learned something so valuable that it's enabled you to make a more permanent change and shift. Now, I think despite the complexity that can come through in the month of July, there's also this really beautiful energy that's kind of holding a space for you. You know, 9 of Cups, 6 of Cups, it's just like there's a sentimental quality to this, a sweetness, a kindness, a sort of generosity of spirit that will show up in, I think, the most unlikely of places, but also be available for you to tap into within yourself. So that's going to translate in some of the important conversations and relationships that you've got going on. And I think, again, as you feel sparked and inspired by some of what that ace is going to be delivering for you, it means that you've got enough to balance out some of the bigger shifts and changes that are asking you to kind of come to a conclusion or kind of herding you off in a specific direction. What I want to say is that, you know, you have a moment in time, right, in this month of July, Virgo, to kind of to take a stand for yourself. You know, it's about the self-control that you can demonstrate in your mind, with your words, in your emotional mood, And through that kind of assertiveness, through giving yourself the opportunity, whether that be through a boundary or to give a firm no or a very clear yes, it's like, even if you still have some fear or anxiety or doubt around that, it's like the affirmation of the energy is very important in enabling something to show up very quickly that can then support you. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind because it feels very connected into the call that's coming through here. Now, if you're new to the channel, our last 3 cards we look at in the extended version of my reading, you can find the link in the comment and description box underneath. Talk for another 30 minutes or so. We'll look at a personal card and a relationship question for you as well, Virgo. These extended readings help me to continue to deliver the free ones for you, so your support is really appreciated and valued if you are resonating with the readings. So I'm going to go ahead and just clarify these cards and see what is coming through in terms of the direction that we will take this. We've got another 8 of Pentacles showing up for you. We've got this Knight of Cups coming in like that for you. Hanged Man. Energy of the Lovers. Queen of Swords here. And the 5. Fool and the 10 of Cups. The Sun. Beautiful. 10 of Swords. Okay. All the decks I use are always listed below. Another Ace of Wands, Emperor. You can also check out my website, please, romywiser.com. If you're new to the channel, you'll find my Sacred Titles, which is my Life Soul Vision Oracle cards, my book, Moon Musings, just ways to work with me, all my Sacred Soul support and membership. And you'll also find links to sign up for my newsletter, so please do join me there. So this is my own deck, Life Soul Vision. Let's take a look and see how it's going to add to this conversation. Sacred Soul Union. We've got the Guide and the Gift. We've got Spirit Lion, Spirit Horse, the Wishing Tree, along with the 9 of Cups. Interesting. Nourish your inner wealth. Okay, let's pull one more oracle for you for July. We've got the energy of dreams. Okay, Virgo, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. I look forward to connecting with you again next month. Have a great time in July. See you then.